The massive alien ship drifted silently through the darkness of space, its hull gleaming like polished metal under the light of distant stars. Inside the Grand Council chamber, beings from across the galaxy had gathered for what they considered a routine meeting. The air buzzed with tension as holographic displays showed a small blue planet spinning peacefully in the void. Admiral Cathara stood tall, her 6 arms gesturing toward the image of Earth. Her species, the Zephyrians, had ruled this sector of space for over 10,000 years. To them, discovering new worlds was as common as breathing. But this little planet worried her. "Look at these creatures," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "They fight each other constantly. Wars, conflicts, violence everywhere we look. These humans are dangerous to themselves and potentially to us." The other council members nodded in agreement. Commander Thek of the Silicon Brotherhood leaned forward, his crystalline body catching the light. "Our scouts report they still use primitive chemical rockets. They haven't even mastered faster-than-light travel. How could such backward beings pose any real threat?" But Cathara wasn't convinced. She had studied the reports carefully. "It's not their technology that concerns me. It's their nature. In the past century alone, they've fought 2 massive global wars. They've created weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. No civilized species behaves this way. Far below, on Earth, completely unaware of the galactic debate happening above their heads, Captain Ji-won Park was having a much more ordinary day. She sat in the command center of the Global Defense Network, a joint military operation that most people didn't even know existed. The screens around her showed satellite feeds from around the world, tracking everything from weather patterns to space debris. Ji-won had grown up dreaming of the stars, never imagining that one day she might have to defend Earth from whatever might be out there. She was drinking her 3rd cup of coffee when Technical Officer Min-ho Kim called out from his station. "Captain, I'm picking up some weird readings from the outer monitoring satellites," Min-ho said, frowning at his displays. "Energy signatures I've never seen before." Ji-won walked over to look at the data. Strange patterns flickered across the screen, unlike anything in their databases. "Could be solar activity," she suggested, but something felt wrong. "Keep monitoring it. And Min-ho, run a full system check on all our deep space sensors." Back in the Alien Council chamber, the debate was growing heated. Representative Veltar of the Aquatic Collective spoke up, her voice creating ripples in the water-filled tank that served as her seat. "Perhaps we're being too harsh. These humans might simply need guidance. We could offer them our knowledge, help them advance peacefully." Admiral Cathara's expression darkened. "And risk them becoming a threat to galactic peace? No. The decision is clear. These humans need protection from themselves, and the galaxy needs protection from them." The vote was swift and unanimous. Earth would be placed under what they called protective custody. It sounded peaceful enough, but everyone in the chamber knew what it really meant. The humans would lose their freedom, their planet would be controlled, and their aggressive nature would be contained. "Prepare the subjugation fleet," Cathara ordered. "Nothing too large. A few dozen ships should be more than enough for such." Primitive world. Commander Yost, a veteran of countless peaceful first contacts, stepped forward. "What if they resist?" Cathara almost laughed. "With what? Their chemical rockets? Their metal projectile weapons? This will be over before it begins." On Earth, communications specialist Ari Choi was having trouble sleeping. She worked the night shift at the Global Defense Network, monitoring radio signals from space. Most nights were quiet, filled with nothing but cosmic background radiation and the occasional signal from their own satellites. But tonight felt different. Her equipment was picking up faint transmissions from somewhere beyond the solar system. The signals were too regular to be natural, too complex to be random. Someone or something was out there talking. "Captain Park," she called, her voice tight. With concern, "You need to see this." Ji-won hurried over to Ari's station. The younger woman had always been reliable, never one to panic over nothing. "What have you got?" Structured signals from deep space, multiple sources, coordinated patterns. "This isn't natural, and it's not from any of our satellites." Ari's fingers danced over her controls, trying to clean up the signal. Someone's having a very organized conversation out there. Engineer Tae Han looked up from his workstation across the room. Could be from one of the other space agencies. Secret project we don't know about? Ji-won shook her head. I would know. This is coming from too far out anyway. She studied the data, her mind racing. How long until you can get a better lock on the source? Give me an hour, maybe two, Ari replied. Do it, and Tae, start running diagnostics on all our defensive systems. I want everything ready just in case. Just in case of what? Tae asked. Ji-won stared at the mysterious signals on the screen. I'm not sure yet, but something tells me we're about to find out. The morning sun was just rising over Seoul when every screen in the world suddenly went black. Televisions, computer monitors, smartphones, digital billboards, everything connected to a network displayed the same thing. Complete darkness for exactly 10 seconds. Then, a face appeared. It wasn't human. The creature speaking had pale blue skin, large black eyes, and spoke in a voice that somehow translated perfectly into every language on Earth simultaneously. President Hannah Lee watched from the emergency bunker deep beneath the Capitol, surrounded by her top advisors and military commanders. Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet, the alien said calmly. I am Admiral Cathara of the Galactic Council. We have been observing your world and have determined that your species requires our protection. Communications Director Sua Yang grabbed the president's arm. Ma'am, this is broadcasting everywhere. Every country, every network. Our techs can't... Shut it off. The alien continued speaking as if she was addressing children. Your people engage in constant warfare and create dangerous weapons. For your own safety and the safety of civilized space, you will now be placed under our protective authority. Prepare for the arrival of our peacekeeping forces. President, Lee felt her blood run cold. She had spent her entire political career working toward world peace, and now some alien was treating humanity like dangerous animals that needed to be caged. Get me every world leader on the line, she ordered. Now. Across the globe, Captain Ji-won Park was already in motion. The strange signals her team had detected were no longer mysterious. They were coming from a massive fleet of alien ships entering the solar system. Her screens showed dozens of vessels, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. Captain, they're not even trying to hide, reported Min-ho Kim from his sensor station. They're coming straight at us, broadcasting their positions like they own the place. Ji-won felt anger rising in her chest. She had dedicated her life to protecting Earth, and now these aliens thought they could just waltz in and take over. What's our defensive status? Engineer Tae Han looked up from his console. All satellite networks are online. Ground-based installations are ready. But Captain, their technology is way ahead of ours. Our weapons might not even scratch them. Maybe, Ji-won said grimly. But they're about to learn something about humans they didn't count on. Within hours, something unprecedented happened. Every major world leader was on a secure video call. Americans, Chinese, Russians, Europeans, Africans, everyone. Countries that had been enemies for decades suddenly found themselves united by a common threat. They want to treat us like children, President Lee said to the assembled leaders. Like we're too stupid to govern ourselves. Prime Minister Raj Patel of India nodded angrily. The arrogance is incredible. They know nothing about us, our history, our struggles, and they decide we need their protection. The question is, said Chancellor Klaus Weber from Germany, what do we do about it? President Lee had already made her decision. We tell them no. The response was crafted carefully by the world's best diplomats, but the message was simple and clear. It was transmitted on every frequency, in every language, broadcast from every major communications hub on the planet simultaneously. To the Galactic Council and Admiral Cathara, this is Earth. We have received your message and formally reject your offer of protection. We are a free people capable of governing ourselves. Withdraw your forces immediately, or we will consider this an act of war. Aboard the lead alien vessel, Captain Jin-woo couldn't believe what he was hearing. In thousands of years of galactic expansion, no primitive species had ever refused protection. Most were grateful. Some were afraid. None had ever told the Council to leave. Replay that transmission, he ordered his communications officer. The message played again in the same calm but defiant tone. Captain Jin Woo studied the data from their scouts. These humans still used chemical rockets. Their most advanced weapons were nuclear missiles that could barely leave their own atmosphere. How could they possibly think they could resist? "Sir," his tactical officer interrupted, "we're detecting unusual activity on the planet's surface." The display showed Earth in real time. All across the planet, hidden facilities were coming online. Satellite networks were repositioning themselves. Military bases that had been quiet were suddenly buzzing with activity. "They're coordinating a global defense," the officer said, disbelief clear in his voice. "Every nation is working together." Back on Earth, communications specialist Ari Choi was performing what she considered impossible magic. She had managed to hack into the alien communication network and was now jamming their signals while simultaneously coordinating with defense networks across the planet. "Their encryption is actually pretty basic," she told Captain Ji-won with excitement. "It's like they never expected anyone to fight back." Ji-won smiled for the first time all day. "That's their first mistake. Tae, how are our countermeasures coming?" Engineer. Tae-han was surrounded by screens showing data from the alien ships. "I'm starting to understand their technology. They're advanced, but they're also predictable. Everything follows standard patterns, like they've never had to adapt to unexpected threats." "Keep working on it," Ji-won ordered. "Ari, can you get me a direct line to their fleet commander?" "Already done, Captain." Ji-won activated the communication channel. Her face appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet, and she could see the surprise on Captain Jin Woo's face when he realized a human had somehow broken through their secure networks. "This is Captain Ji-won Park of the Earth Defense Force," she said calmly. "You have 1 hour to leave our solar system. After that, we will consider any alien vessel in our space to be hostile." Captain Jin Woo found his voice. "You cannot be serious? Your primitive weapons cannot threaten our fleet." Ji-won's expression never changed. "Admiral Kithara made the same mistake you're making right now. She assumed she knew everything about us based on a quick scan. You're about to learn why that was a very bad assumption." The transmission ended, leaving the alien fleet in stunned silence. The first alien attack came at dawn, just as Captain Ji-won Park had expected. She watched from her command center as energy beams from the alien ships struck Earth's outer defense. Satellites. The aliens probably thought they were being clever, taking out humanity's eyes and ears before the real battle began. They had no idea that humans had been preparing for this moment their entire history. "Satellites 7 through 12 are offline," reported Min-ho Kim from his station. "But the backup network is already compensating." Ji-won nodded. The aliens had destroyed exactly what she wanted them to destroy, the obvious targets. Meanwhile, thousands of smaller hidden sensors continued feeding data to Earth's defense network. Phase 1 complete. Initiate Ghost Protocol. Across the planet, something extraordinary was happening. Military bases that had appeared destroyed were actually empty decoys. The real weapons were hidden in places the aliens would never think to look. In subway tunnels, abandoned buildings, even inside artificial mountains built specifically for this purpose. In a converted warehouse in Tokyo, engineer Dai-jun was surrounded by pieces of alien technology that had fallen from the destroyed satellites. While the aliens were congratulating themselves on their easy victory, Day was reverse engineering their weapons at a speed that would have impressed even their own scientists. "Got it," he announced to his team after just 6 hours of work. "Their shield technology is based on harmonic frequencies. Change the frequency of our weapons and we can punch right through." His assistant, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, stared at the data. This should have taken months to figure out." Day shrugged. "Maybe for them, but they've never had to improvise. Look at their design philosophy. Everything is standardized, predictable. They build things to last forever, not to adapt quickly." Meanwhile, high above Earth's atmosphere, pilot Hai-Rin was leading the first human counterattack. Her squadron of modified fighters had launched from hidden bases, using Earth's space debris as cover. The aliens couldn't understand how human ships were appearing and disappearing like ghosts. "Blue leader to all units," Hai-Rin spoke calmly into her radio. "Remember, they fight like they're following a manual. Predictable patterns, standard formations. Time to show them what chaos looks like." Captain Jin Woo watched in growing horror as his perfectly organized battle plan fell apart. His ships were designed to fight other advanced civilizations that followed the same rules of engagement that had governed galactic warfare for thousands of years, but these humans didn't follow any rules at all. "Sir, they're using our own debris. Field against us," his tactical officer reported. "Their small craft are hiding among the wreckage, then attacking from impossible angles." "Impossible how?" Jinwoo demanded. "They're flying through spaces too small for any rational pilot to attempt. They're making turns that should destroy their ships. And, sir, I think they're enjoying it." Indeed, Hai-Rin was grinning inside her helmet as she dove her fighter between two pieces of a destroyed alien probe, pulling G-forces that would have killed most species. Human pilots had been pushing the limits of physics since the first person figured out how to make fire. These aliens had no idea what they were dealing with. Back on Earth, something even more remarkable was happening. Dr. Min Cha, working in a secret laboratory beneath the Swiss Alps, had achieved what the aliens thought was impossible. She had cracked their faster-than-light communication system. "We're not just intercepting their messages," she explained to the Emergency Council of World Leaders via encrypted video link. "We can trace their entire network back to its source. Every ship, every base, every command center. We know where they all are." President Hana Lee leaned forward. "Can we disrupt their communications?" "Better than that," Min said with a smile. "We can feed them false information. Make them think our attacks are coming from one direction when they're really coming from another." The psychological warfare began immediately. Communications specialist Ari Choi, working with teams of hackers and linguists from around the world, started broadcasting carefully crafted messages into the alien fleet's communication channels. "Attention alien vessels," the messages said, in perfect alien languages. "This is Earth Defense Command. Your Admiral Cathara has abandoned you. Your reinforcements have been destroyed. Surrender now and you will be treated according to galactic law." None of it was true, but the aliens had no way to verify the information. Their own communication network, which they had trusted for millennia, was now working against them. Captain Jinwoo tried desperately to contact his superiors, but every message he sent was intercepted and replaced by the humans. As far as the Galactic Council knew, the invasion of Earth was proceeding exactly as planned. The real masterpiece came when engineer Tae Han figured out how to turn the aliens' own weapons against them. Hidden deep inside a mountain in Colorado, he had built a device that could capture and redirect the energy beams from alien ships. "It's like martial arts," he explained to Captain Ji-won. "Instead of meeting force with force, we redirect their strength back at them." The first time a human defense station caught an alien energy blast and sent it back to destroy the ship that fired it, the entire alien fleet went silent for 10 minutes. On the flagship, Captain Jin Woo stared at his displays in disbelief. "How are they doing this? Our technology is thousands of years more advanced than theirs." His science officer, a being whose species had been studying warfare for longer than humans had existed, spoke quietly. "Sir, I don't think it's about technology. Anymore, these humans, they don't fight the way we fight. They don't think the way we think." "What do you mean?" "Every species we've ever encountered follows logical patterns. They develop technology in predictable ways. They fight according to established strategies. But these humans—" The officer paused. "They turn everything into a weapon. They make their weaknesses into strengths. They seem to actually get better the more desperate their situation becomes." Captain Jin Woo finally understood the truth that Admiral Cathara had missed. The humans weren't primitive. They were something entirely new. A species that had spent millions of years learning to survive against impossible odds, and now they were using every lesson they had ever learned. The hunters had become the hunted, and Earth's children were just getting started. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in their 10,000-year history. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered not to discuss expansion or trade, but to understand how a primitive species had just humiliated their most advanced fleet. Admiral Cathara stood before the assembly, her usual confidence shattered. The holographic displays around her showed the impossible: human ships pursuing her retreating vessels across 3 star systems. Ships that looked like they had been built in someone's garage were outmaneuvering craft that represented millennia of engineering excellence. "Explain this," demanded Elder Vorth of the Crystal Collective, his crystalline body pulsing with angry red light. "How did your simple protection mission turn into a complete disaster?" Cathera tried to find words. "The humans, they don't fight according to any known military doctrine. They adapt faster than our tactical computers can process, and somehow they've reverse-engineered our technology in a matter of days." Across the galaxy, Dr. Unero was having the most important conversation of her career. She had spent decades studying what the Council called peripheral worlds, planets that seemed too dangerous or primitive to bother with. Earth had been one of her subjects, and now everyone wanted to hear what she had to say. "You have to understand," she told the packed auditorium of galactic scientists, "we completely misread what Earth represents. We saw a world full of conflict and assumed the inhabitants were simply violent primitives. We never looked deeper." The holographic display behind her showed Earth's timeline: ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, mass extinctions. "This planet has tried to kill its inhabitants dozens of times over millions of years. Every other species we know developed on stable worlds with predictable environments. Humans evolved in constant crisis." Commander Ryu Nam, who had been monitoring the battle from deep space observation posts, added his analysis. "Look at their evolution. Most successful species develop natural advantages: armor, claws, venom, camouflage. Humans had none of that. They survived through intelligence, cooperation, and something we've never encountered before." "Which is?" asked a representative from the Aquatic Collective. "They actually get stronger under pressure," Ryu explained. "Every time their species faced extinction, the survivors came back more adaptable, more resourceful, more determined than before." On Earth, Captain G1 Park was discovering just how right the alien scientist was. In the week since the battle began, humanity had achieved technological advances that should have taken decades. The pressure of facing an advanced alien threat had unleashed human creativity in ways that amazed even her. Engineer Daijun approached her with his latest creation, a weapon that combined alien energy technology with human ingenuity. "Captain, we've built something that even the aliens never thought of. Instead of just copying their designs, we've improved them." "How?" G1 asked. "They build everything to last forever and never change. We build things to adapt and improve, constantly. Their ships are like beautiful museums, perfect but static. Ours are like living creatures that evolve in real time." The truth was spreading through galactic communication networks faster than the Council could contain it. Species that had always looked down on primitive worlds were suddenly asking uncomfortable questions about their own assumptions. Dr. Yuna O received a message that made her realize how much the galaxy was about to change. It was from a remote monitoring station that had been observing Earth for centuries, gathering data that no one had bothered to analyze properly. "Dr. O," the message read, "you need to see this historical data. The humans haven't just been fighting each other all this time, they've been preparing. The files were incredible. Humans had been unconsciously training for galactic warfare, their entire history. Every conflict, every technological challenge, every crisis had made them better at exactly the skills they needed now: rapid adaptation, asymmetric warfare, creative problem-solving under extreme pressure. They've been running a million-year military training program," Yuna whispered to herself, "and they didn't even know it." Meanwhile, communications specialist Ari Choi was making discoveries that terrified the alien high command. She had not only cracked their communication systems, but had gained access to their strategic databases. "Captain Park," she called excitedly, "I've found their tactical manuals. Look at this. They have detailed plans for conquering thousands of different species, but every single plan assumes the target will fight defensively and follow predictable patterns." G1 studied the alien battle plans. "They've never faced anyone who attacks their assumptions instead of their ships." "Exactly. And Captain, there's something else. According to their own records, they've never actually fought a real war. Every species they've encountered either surrendered immediately or was so technologically inferior that it was over in hours." The Implications hit G1 like a thunderbolt. They're not warriors, they're bureaucrats with fancy weapons. The realization was spreading through human command centers worldwide. These aliens, who had seemed so advanced and threatening, were actually the galactic equivalent of mall security guards who had never faced real opposition. Engineer Tae Han summed it up perfectly during a strategy meeting. They've spent thousands of years being the biggest kids on the playground, never realizing they'd grown soft. We've spent millions of years fighting for survival against a planet that kept trying to kill us. The turning point came when Dr. Min Cha made a discovery that changed everything. Deep in the alien databases, she found something that made her call an emergency meeting of Earth's leadership. The Galactic Council doesn't just rule through advanced technology, she announced. They rule through fear. Every species in their empire is terrified of them because no one has ever successfully resisted. President Hana Lee understood immediately. Until now, Min confirmed. And if word gets out that humans not only resisted but actually won, the galaxy was about to learn that the species they had dismissed as primitive was actually something they had never encountered before, a race that had been forged by adversity into the ultimate survivors. Earth's children weren't just fighting for their freedom, they were about to become the force that would reshape the balance of power across the stars. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy was about to discover what happened when you awakened a sleeping giant that had spent millions of years learning how to turn any challenge into an opportunity. The counterattack began on a Tuesday morning, Earth time. Admiral J. Bin stood on the bridge of humanity's first interstellar warship, a vessel that looked nothing like the sleek alien craft it was about to face. The human ship was a patchwork of salvaged alien technology, Earth engineering, and pure human stubbornness welded together into something that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. "All stations report ready," called out his communications officer. Behind them, a fleet of similar ships waited, each one unique, each one built with whatever materials and technology humans could get their hands with. They looked like a collection of garage projects compared to the pristine alien vessels, but appearances could be deceiving. "This is Admiral J. Bin of the Terran Defense Force to all Galactic Council vessels in this system," he broadcast on all frequencies. "You brought this war to our doorstep. Now we're bringing it to yours. Leave immediately or face the consequences." The response came from Admiral Cathara herself, her image appearing on the main screen. Her confidence had returned now that she was in what she considered safe space, surrounded by the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. "Impossible," she said. "Your primitive ships cannot have traveled this far from your system. This must be some kind of trick." J. Bin smiled. "The only trick here is that you never bothered to really understand what you were dealing with. Fire. What happened next would be talked about in galactic military academies for centuries to come. The human ships didn't fight like any fleet in recorded history. They split up, regrouped, attacked from impossible angles, and used tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Captain Suar, commanding a ship built around the hull of an old Earth cargo vessel, led her squadron in what could only be described as organized chaos. Her ships moved like a school of fish, each one independent but somehow perfectly coordinated with the others. "Remember," she told her pilots, "these aliens think warfare is like chess. Predictable moves, standard responses. Show them what it's like to play against someone who keeps changing the rules." Back on Earth, the reaction to news of the human counterattack was electric. For the first time in their history, humans weren't just defending their world, they were taking the fight to the enemy. In command centers around the globe, military leaders watched in amazement as their improvised fleet held its own against technology that was supposed to be centuries ahead of theirs. Engineer Dae Jun, monitoring the battle from his laboratory, couldn't stop grinning. "Look at this data," he told his team. "The aliens are trying to respond to our tactics by running computer simulations, but their computers can't process what we're doing because we're not following any logical pattern." "Is that good or bad?" asked his assistant. "It's beautiful," Day replied. "We're not just beating them, we're making them doubt everything they thought they knew about warfare." The psychological impact was even greater than the military one. Word of the battle was spreading through galactic communication networks faster than the Council could suppress it. Species that had been under alien rule for thousands of years were suddenly asking questions they had never dared ask before. On the peaceful world of Centauri Prime, a species called the Verdani received their first message from the human fleet. The message was simple. If you want to be free, now is the time to stand up. The Verdani had been conquered so long ago that most of them had forgotten what independence felt like, but something about the human message stirred memories of a time when their world belonged to them. Dr. Min Cha, monitoring galactic communications from Earth, watched with fascination as the ripple effect spread. "Captain Park," she called, "you need to see this. We're getting requests for help from 17 different star systems. Species we've never heard of are asking if we can teach them how to fight back." Captain G1 Park studied the communications. Each message was different, but they all said the same thing. After watching humans successfully resist the Galactic Council, other species wanted to try it too. "This is bigger than we thought," G1 realized. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for the right of every species to govern themselves." The turning point came when Captain Suwa received an unexpected message during the height of the battle. It was from a Galactic Council ship, but the sender wasn't Admiral Cathara. "Human vessels, this is Commander Zek of the science ship Harmony. We formally request asylum and offer our services to your cause." Suwa was stunned. "Say again, Harmony, did you just ask to defect?" "Affirmative. Half my crew are from species that were conquered by the Council. We've been waiting our entire lives for someone to show us that resistance was possible. You've given us hope." Within hours, more alien ships were switching sides. Not all of them. The Council's core species remained loyal, but enough to change the balance of the battle. The mighty Galactic Council was facing something they had never encountered, a rebellion that was spreading faster than they could contain it. Admiral Kithara found herself in the impossible position of fighting not just humans, but her own former subjects. Her perfect fleet was falling apart as ship after ship either defected or simply stopped following orders. "How are they doing this?" she demanded of her tactical officer. "Ma'am, I think they're not trying to defeat us militarily. They're trying to defeat the idea of us. They're showing the galaxy that we're not invincible." The final blow came from an unexpected source. Communications specialist Ari Choi, working with hackers from across human space, managed to broadcast a message to every inhabited world in the galaxy simultaneously. "People of the galaxy," the message began, showing President Hannah Lee speaking calmly from the Oval Office. "Today, humanity offers you a choice. You can continue to live under the rule of those who conquered you, or you can stand up and take back your freedom. We cannot fight your battles for you, but we can show you that victory is possible." The response was immediate and overwhelming. On 100 worlds, species that had been slaves for millennia began to remember what it felt like to be free. The Galactic Council's perfect order was crumbling, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. 3 months later, the war was over. Not because one side had completely defeated the other, but because the Galactic Council had been forced to accept a new reality. They were no longer the undisputed rulers of the galaxy. Captain Suwa received the first official request for human military advisors from a world that had just declared its independence. Then came another request and another. Species that had once cowered in fear of the Council were now seeking protection from the humans who had shown them how to fight. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Never underestimate a species that has spent millions of years learning to turn weakness into strength, disadvantage into opportunity, and desperation into determination. Earth's children had become the galaxy's new protectors, not through conquest, but through the simple act of refusing to surrender their freedom.